So we've talked about this a couple of times. Unfortunately, it looks like President Trump will be a big thing during these elections, like the liberals base the whole campaign on the President Trump, right? I hope a lot of people will realize that President Trump is only the tip of the iceberg, and that situation we're in right now is actually not so much about the President Trump, but about the 3 terms with the liberals. Like, we didn't have President Trump 3 years ago, and somehow this past 3 years everything got more expensive and less affordable. The groceries are at least 30% more expensive, and again, that's not thanks to President Trump. And speaking about the tariffs, yes, so right now we have a tariffs on the automobile industry. However, do you really think it affected the grocery prices or anything like this? Not yet. So anyway, there was a lot of comments that liberals are the only one who cares about President Trump, and conservatives are just going with whatever they're campaigning for, right? Which is not really correct. The correct thing to say is that the liberals are, conservatives. They actually have a long-term plan. They're not only planning to cut the deal with President Trump, but then try to become more self-reliant. And here we're gonna watch the video, how to break Canada's dependence on the Americans, which should be a main focus of this election, or one of the main focuses, because you can't base it on the President Trump. President Trump, in 4 years, US is gonna have someone else, right, as a president. Well, there's a crazy conspiracy that the President Trump will get a 3rd term. But even if that happened, okay, then in 8 years you're gonna have a new president. And you don't know how he's gonna behave. He might be even more radical than President Trump. And again, don't get me wrong, I like President Trump because he's there for Americans. And we need someone like that for Canadians. Someone who will put Canada first. So it's actually nice to see that at least one of these 2 political parties have a plan for the future rather than just putting the band-aid on tariffs right now. So yeah, let's listen to this, how to break Canada's dependence on the Americans.
So you announced today the Canada First National Energy Corridor to get Canadian product to other international markets, but it would require all provinces to buy in. So at this point, can you guarantee cooperation?
Well, a lot of these decisions are in fact federal, and I will make sure that we use our powers to get pipelines built. Let's make sure that we understand that the reason that no pipelines got built across Canada during the lost Liberal decade is not because the provinces blocked it, it's because the Liberals blocked it. They brought in the No New Pipelines Law, C-69, which makes it impossible to get anything built. They changed the rules in the middle of the game after TransCanada promised to build Energy East, killing that project. And the same radical, keep it in the ground, anti-energy ideology dominates in the Liberal Party today. Stephen Guilbeault, who chained himself to fences and got arrested for climbing buildings to block pipelines, is now responsible for the Quebec ministry of the Carney government. So it's the same Liberals with the same ministers.
I didn't know that. That's ridiculous. So someone who's an activist like this, who obviously breaks the law, and don't get me wrong, I'm all for environment. However, Canada's number 120 in pollution, we're better than US. We have a lot of regulations. So if there's a country that can do it safely, I believe it's Canada. Also, we don't have money to build a clean energy infrastructure. So what we can do with this pipelines and everything, we can work toward being or using clean energy in 10-15 years, right? Rather than let the taxpayers to pay for all of this infrastructure, and it's gonna take what, another 50 years or something like that? Or possibly it's never gonna happen, because if we look at the affordability right now, the grocery prices and everything, Why would you stay in Canada? Canada's a beautiful country. Canada has beautiful culture. But if government goes against you, what can you do, right? But anyway, like, how is it possible that liberals blocked all of this? That they willingly took money away from Canada? Not only that they blocked pipelines and everything, they took the money from the taxpayers and sent it somewhere else. Like, the life in Canada is so great that we don't need money. We don't have anything to improve over here, right? With our money, our taxpayers' money. No, they just decided, yeah, so we're gonna block the pipelines so the economy can't get any better, because obviously we're the best, right? And not only that, we're gonna take taxpayers' money and we're gonna send it outside of the Canada to some country that has nothing to do with Canada. Who knows if we ever get that money back as well, right? It's like, come on, look at the Canadian citizens. Do you really think the situation here is so good that you can send our money somewhere else? No, it's not. And that's how disconnected liberals are. And here you have a gentleman who understands it. Here you have Pierre Poilievre, who wants to improve economic situation in Canada, who wants to make life affordable in Canada again. And no one's saying that he's against environment or against clean energy, but he understands that we cannot afford it right now. And just look at it from the family perspective, right? If they ban all of the fossil fueled cars by 2035, are you going to be able to afford electric car? The electric car is twice as expensive as whatever you're driving right now. How can we afford it with shitty wage, a lot of taxes, affordability issues? Groceries are crazy expensive. Like, a lot of Canadians right now are struggling to pay off the bills. And you think we're going to be able to afford electric car? No. First, we need to get above water. First, we need to become prosperous country again. And then we can talk about all of this. Again, even now, even if we don't talk about just the clean energy, but this car issue, right? Do you think that Canada as a country is in the situation to give rebates, or let's say to offset the cost difference between electric car and normal car? And let's be honest, new normal car is still hella expensive. But yeah, they're not in the situation to offset it. Why? Because we don't have money. Why? Well, because we're not using all the resources we can for some liberal reasons. Anyway, let's finish the video. Sorry, it gets me mad all the time. Like, you have a crazy potential in Canada, and somehow liberals decided, let's not do it. And not only that, they decided, let's take more money from taxpayers, right? Carbon tax. And again, I know you're gonna be like, oh, Mark Carney, he canceled the carbon tax. No, he made it zero for now. But it can literally, liberals can get elected on 28th, and on 29th, we can have carbon tax back, and even higher, and even without rebates. You know why? Because it's still in the law. It wasn't scratched out of the books. It's still there. It was just changed to zero. So then, on 29th, he can literally go change it without going through the parliament or anyone else. Literally, as a prime minister, he can do it. And that's one of the reasons why you should not vote liberals. Because not only that he's lying that there's no carbon tax, the carbon tax right now is zero, but it's still there. And also, we still have industrial carbon tax, which is crazy. If they get rid of the industrial carbon tax, everything gets even cheaper, right? So why are you doing only a half-ass job when you can literally make the situation in Canada better? It just proves that he's not honest about this, that he still thinks that the carbon tax is a good idea. Anyway, let's
the same promises that killed pipelines and drove $500 billion south What we need now is a new conservative government that will put Canada first for a change.
We do.
And I will lay out a national energy corridor, give pre-approval for all the federal permitting so that businesses know what they're allowed to build and what standards and specs they have to meet to build it. Those will be legally binding, and that will allow us to get massive projects built across this country and put Canada first. You know, the Liberals keep giving our energy at discounts to Donald Trump. I want to reverse that Liberal lost decade by bringing real change to put Canada first.
Yeah, that's what you need. We need someone who's gonna put Canada first and the Canadian first, not how it worked with Liberals. What did they do? So first of all, they have a crazy cap on immigration. Yearly they want to have 400,000 immigrants with PR status. Again, immigration's important. Canada, US, everyone's built on immigration. But do we have infrastructure for that? Do you look at the housing numbers and job numbers before you do this? Obviously they don't, otherwise you wouldn't be in the crisis. Like, how is it that we have housing crisis? How is it that you pay over $1 million for townhouse in GTA? Not in Toronto, but in Greater Toronto area. It's just ridiculous. And how is that you're still letting more and more immigrants in when you don't have housing for them or jobs for them? It's ridiculous. And both parties agree that immigration's very important for Canada. But Liberals are pretty much just send them all in. However, Conservatives are more like send them in as long as we can afford it. And it's nothing against immigration, but that's how it's supposed to be. Like, I am immigrant. Do you think I want to immigrate to the country where I'm gonna end up being homeless? And that's what's pretty much happening in Canada. Like, how can you accept immigrants without having some houses for them or some housing plan, or with this housing crisis? Like, how are they supposed to find where to live and find a job? And some of them work 2-3 jobs just to pay off the bills. Like, that's not okay. That's not a Canadian dream. And that's not Liberals putting Canada first. It's so dishonest. It's not like, oh, come to Canada, have a great life. It's come to Canada, struggle, because we took so many of you in without having any plan what to do with you. It's just ridiculous. And like, poor people suffer because of this. Again, it's nothing against immigration, but there needs to be a plan. There needs to be infrastructure. Like, you can't just accept people without having any housing for them. Or, yeah, it's ridiculous. Like, I lived in the country in the Middle East where you had 15 people living in one apartment because of the shift job and because of the rent prices and all of it. And Canada shouldn't be like this. You shouldn't move to Canada and live with 14 other people because that's your only option. And that's what Liberals want. That's what Liberals allowed. And that's why we have this housing crisis, because there's not enough houses, but there's more people. Same with the jobs. Like, it's hard for people to find the jobs because the Liberals didn't I don't even know how to describe it. They didn't use their brain while doing this immigration limits. Like, yes, you can have 400,000 PRs a year, but you need to build more houses. You need to get more jobs. You know what gets us more jobs? Pipelines. And these jobs are not going to be replaced by AI within next, 5-10 years. It's not like a white collar job, like software engineer or anything like that. Like, these jobs are unfortunately eventually going to get replaced. If you have a team of 4, one person can do it with AI. So 3 other people will lose the job. However, the manual work, like refineries, pipeline, that's gonna take a while until it gets replaced. But yeah, anyway, to close it off a little bit, so how to break the dependence on the Americans? Startup economy, restart it, build more pipelines, have a new trade deals with European Union and stuff like this. Just don't depend on one single trade deal with US, because you see it right now. Everything can happen. Whoever's going to be in the power over there might decide that for Americans, it's better to tariff Canada. And again, the American president doesn't have any responsibility towards Canadians. So if he thinks this will help US citizens, I'm all for it. But we need someone like this. We need someone who's going to put Canada first. And who's that someone right now? Who's your best choice for that? According to my opinion, it's Pierre Poilievre. And if you have different opinion, just make your research before you go vote. Just look into what liberals did, what conservatives did. If you want to vote for NDP, you're gonna help liberals. Because right now this election is gonna be about these two parties. And every vote that's not gonna go to conservatives is gonna help liberals.